Hello from Beer Australia Reviews, and today we will be sampling, tasting and reviewing a beer called Voodoo Ranger Hazy IPA. Now, for those of you who don't know Voodoo Ranger, it's actually originally is from an American brewery which is called the New Belgium Brewing Company, which is from Colorado in the USA. However, in 2019, the New Belgium brewery was actually acquired by Lion Group, so the Voodoo Ranger beers are now made under license in Australia. So if Lion Group itself, they've got like a number of brands. They've got things like Forex, Tui's, Emu. They do the Kirin lager as well. They also do Little Creatures. So Little Creatures started out a few years ago as like an independent brand, and they were independent for quite a few years, and then they were taken over by Lion Group. Now, I recently reviewed one of the newer Little Creatures beers, which was also a hazy IPA, and I compared that against the Feral Biggie Juice. Now, the reason why I did that one was just a comparison to see whether or not the Little Creatures, now that they've been taken over by like the huge conglomerate, so Lion Group is part owned in Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, Japan, I think. Now, it was to see whether or not a big conglomerate group could still make a beer that was as good as one of our local breweries, the Feral, which is from Western Australia. And actually, the two of them came out really well. I was actually quite surprised at the quality of the Little Creatures, even though it's now like part of this Lion Group. So usually when a beer is made under license, then it's a recipe for disaster. When it's made in Australia, it's a recipe for disaster. The funny thing is, when you take Australian beers outside Australia, say for example when you drink Foster's in Europe or the UK, it's actually a decent beer. It's nothing special, but it's drinkable. Whereas in Australia, it's not so special. But one of the worst things that you can possibly do is to bring a European beer to Australia and then make it under license in Australia. It does not work. The worst beer experience I've had in Australia, well, amongst a couple of others, has been a pint of Heineken that I mistakenly had. But there we go. Anyway, okay, so Voodoo Ranger, so from New Belgium Brewing Company, now part of Lion Group. So let's get the can out. So hold on a second. That's so this is the beer that we're talking about today. Voodoo Ranger Hazy IPA. It's 5%, and as it says in the can, brewed in various locations around Australia. So you never know what you're going to get when you get one of these. But let's get the thing out of the fridge and get it in the can. So there we go. Voodoo Ranger. Okay, so it just from the can, in various places around Australia. Doesn't tell you a lot. Also, when I was looking for some more information on this one on the website, there's nothing. There's actually not even an Australian version of the Voodoo Ranger website that's done by Lion Group. Also, I couldn't actually find any information, official information. There's things like on the on some of the like the websites, the beer review websites, but there's nothing actually on the Lion Group or the New Belgium Brewing Company website about this particular beer. So okay, anyway, let's get the thing in the can. Oh, here we go. Need to give this one a swirl. So it should be cloudy because it's got wheat and oats in there, as well as the barley. So it's got some pale barley malts. And always give it a bit of a swirl. The swirl just releases the sediment in the beer and gets more of it in the glass. There we go. There's the cloudiness. Webcam. Okay, so I'm actually getting some aroma from this one already. Anytime that you get aroma from the beer instantly, as soon as you open the can up, it makes it into being a higher quality beer. Sometimes you get one of these mass-produced things and there's no aroma in there whatsoever, so we're doing well so far. Also, have a look at the colour on that one. That's, or the cloudiness, that's extremely cloudy. Yeah, that's the oats that go into the thing. So they make it's a little bit like porridge. If you see the discussion between myself and Chris, our homebrew expert, you'll see that we were talking about the ingredients, and the oats make it like a little bit of a porridge sort of a texture, and that's what gives these sorts of hazy New England style IPAs the cloudiness. Okay, so let's give this one a try, see what it's like. Not as big an aroma as some. There's definitely some tropical aromas in there. So, can I narrow this down to any particular type of a fruit? We're getting a little bit of stone fruit. It doesn't jump out like a whole bag of pineapple lumps like the what's it called, the Sensei Hazy IPA from uh, Deep Creek in New Zealand. That was the most pineapple I've ever tasted in a beer. So not quite at that level. Yeah, but it's okay. But let's give the thing a taste, because here's the thing now: brewed in various locations around Australia, what sort of water quality is it going to have? Because some places you should not make beer. But here we go. Oh, well, there's no obvious water quality problems with this one, so that really is that's definitely in its favour. Uh, this is actually just the one taste of it. I can tell you it's a decent quality beer. Might not be up there as high as some of the really handmade craft beers, especially things like that come out of them, like the Margaret River region and stuff like that. But it's a cut above some of these other mass market cheapo brands that are out there. Because considering this one, it wasn't expensive compared to some, but it's still it's mass produced because of being part of the line group, but it's retaining its quality. Let's give it another go. I don't think it's got the best of water quality. I don't know where this is actually produced within Australia. It's got a tiny little bit of Australian water drying quality. It's got, it hasn't got huge amounts of tanginess and huge amounts of therefore like citric acid in the thing. So I don't know how much of the hops have actually got the way through from this one, because this one, what I did find, it has a big mix of hops. This one, I do believe it's got Mosaic, Chinook, Fatto with a PH, Galaxy, Strata, Lotus, and Sabro. I think that is. So a whole mix of hops. The more different hops that you put in there, the more different aromas you might be trying to get into the thing. However, I think that you need for me, that's what, six of them, seven of them. I think that's like two, three or four too many. Stick to like three hops. That I find that's ideal, because it gives it maximum character without overwhelming. See, this one, I'm getting lots of hop sort of spiciness going around the place, but you can't sort of tie it down. I think that's one of the problems with this one. Let's give it another go. I'm getting more tanginess now. Okay, that's it. It doesn't have a big hit of grapefruit across the back, which some of these New England hazy IPAs do have. It's tangy on the tongue. It doesn't have a long, lingering aftertaste. There's not a huge amount of malt in this one, so it's reasonably sweet. I think they've put multiple chunks of hops in this one though, because I'm still getting like the hop aromas around my mouth right this second. So it's, I think, like I say, they've gone one too many on the hops. Now I don't know what sorts of hop stages they put into this one, whether they put like a initial boil in, whether they do like dry hopping and things. I suspect that they are using real hops in this one, even if it's hop pellets that are frozen. I suspect, because getting fresh hops into a beer is a bit, I wouldn't expect it at this price, um, but there's like plenty of hops. It's tanginess is still there. Okay, so bit of a recap on this one. So it's Voodoo Ranger Hazy India Pale Ale. So it's a company that originally came from Colorado in the USA, but is now part of the Lion Group. So it's the huge conglomerates that's it's owned in like Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, and Japan, I think, is where this is. So they also make things like James Bogues, Emu, Castlemaine 4X, the actual Australian version. Okay, so but overall, though, my impression of this one is good. I would rate it. It's well above any of those other sort of mass market brands. Any of those ones that I've just said to you, 4X2Es, Hahn, James Bogues, Emu. This is well above them. It's almost as good as the Little Creatures version of the same sort of beer, and it's almost as good as some of the handmade craft beers that are out there, but not quite, not quite. Still though, if you see it, right, give it a try, because it's well worthwhile giving this one a go. So Voodoo Ranger, Hazy India Pale Ale, 5% volume, whole mix of hops in there, mass produced in various locations around Australia, but still done to a decent quality. Yeah, but there we go. Yep, give it a try. Thanks for watching.